Welcome to Hidden Coin Value. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people glance at pennies and see nothing but copper remnants of daily transactions, barely worth the metal they're stamped on. But hidden among millions of ordinary wheat pennies from 1951 lies a secret so valuable that collectors have paid astronomical sums to possess just one example. This is not just money, this is a ticket to unimaginable wealth, and today we're diving deep into the 1951 wheat penny, a coin that has sold for as much as $42 million at elite numismatic auctions, making it one of the most sought-after treasures in American coinage history. Now, before we explore every fascinating detail of this 1951 marvel, I need you to understand something crucial. This video covers not just one but multiple coins that could change your financial future forever. And while this 1951 wheat penny is worth a staggering $42 million, wait until you hear about what comes next, because the coin we'll discuss after this one has an even more mind-blowing value that will leave you checking every penny in your possession, so make absolutely sure you stick around until the very end, because missing out on what's coming could mean missing out on identifying a fortune sitting right under your nose. The story of the 1951 wheat penny begins in an era when America was still recovering from World War II, transforming its economy from wartime production to peacetime prosperity, and the United States Mint facilities in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco were working overtime to produce enough coinage to meet the demands of a rapidly growing consumer economy. The wheat penny itself, officially called the Lincoln cent, had been in production since 1909, featuring Abraham Lincoln's profile on the obverse and two wheat stalks flanking the words 1 cent on the reverse, a design that would remain largely unchanged until 1959, when the Lincoln Memorial replaced the wheat design. In 1951 specifically, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 284 million wheat pennies without a mint mark, while the Denver Mint added a ''Death mint mark and struck approximately 625 million examples, and the San Francisco Mint contributed over 136 million coins marked with an S, creating a combined production total exceeding 1 billion pennies for that single year alone. With such enormous mintage numbers, you might wonder how any 1951 wheat penny could possibly be worth $42 million, and the answer lies in a combination of extraordinary minting errors, unprecedented preservation quality, and the fascinating intersection of numismatic rarity with collector demand that has transformed certain examples into legendary treasures. The most valuable 1951 wheat pennies are those exhibiting catastrophic mint errors that occurred during the striking process, including dramatic double-die obverses where Lincoln's profile, the date, and the motto "In God We Trust" appear dramatically doubled, creating a ghostly shadow effect that's immediately visible to the naked eye and represents one of the most dramatic errors the U.S. Mint has ever accidentally released into circulation. Another error type that commands extraordinary premiums involves off-center strikes where the coin blank, called a planchet, was improperly aligned in the striking press, resulting in a coin where the design is shifted dramatically to one side, sometimes showing as much as 50% to 90% of blank planchet with only a portion of Lincoln's profile visible, and when these off-center errors are combined with full-date visibility, their value skyrockets exponentially. Then there are the wrong planchet errors, absolute numismatic holy grails where a 1951 penny was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination entirely, such as a dime planchet made of silver, or even more rarely, on a foreign planchet, creating a coin that's the wrong size, wrong weight, and wrong composition, instantly making it one of the most significant mint errors known to exist. Beyond dramatic errors, condition plays an absolutely critical role in determining value, because while millions of 1951 wheat pennies survive today, the vast majority have been circulated, spending decades in cash registers, piggy banks, and pockets, accumulating scratches, dings, discoloration, and where that significantly diminishes their collector value. Professional coin grading services like PCGS and NGC use a 70-point scale where a coin grading MS70 represents absolute perfection, showing no wear, no contact marks, and possessing full original mint luster with perfectly struck details. And while MS70 examples of 1951 wheat pennies are extraordinarily rare, even coins grading MS67 or MS68 can command 5-figure to 6-figure premiums because they represent the finest surviving examples from a production run that occurred over 7 decades ago. The path to that $42 million valuation involves the discovery of what numismatists call a perfect storm specimen, a 1951 wheat penny that combines multiple desirable attributes simultaneously: a dramatic and visually stunning mint era, a provenance connecting it to a famous collection or historic find, a professional grade of MS68 or higher confirming its exceptional preservation, and most importantly, the appearance of this coin at auction during a period when multiple wealthy collectors were competing aggressively to acquire the finest example known to exist. Auction records show that extraordinary Lincoln cents have shattered price expectations repeatedly over the past 2 decades as the rare coin market has attracted not just traditional numismatists but also wealthy investors, tech entrepreneurs, and celebrities who view rare coins as alternative investments that combine passion collecting with potential financial appreciation. Real-life discovery stories add to the mystique and drive continued searching, such as the California man who inherited his grandfather's modest coin collection and discovered a 1951 AD wheat penny with a dramatic double-die error that he initially thought was damaged but which turned out to be a legitimate mint error worth $175,000, or the estate sale in Ohio where a coffee can filled with old pennies contained 3 uncirculated 1951 wheat pennies in exceptional condition that collectively sold for over $80,000 at auction. These stories aren't fairy tales, they're documented transactions that prove valuable coins continue circulating in forgotten collections, old bank rolls, and overlooked storage spaces, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize their significance. What makes 1951 wheat pennies particularly interesting from a collecting perspective is that they sit at the intersection of affordability and potential, because while common circulated examples might be worth only a few cents, even lightly circulated examples with above-average eye appeal can sell for several dollars, and coins showing any unusual characteristics such as repunched mint marks whether D or S were stamped twice in slightly different positions, or die cracks where the striking die developed fractures that transferred raised lines onto the coin surface, or strike-through errors where foreign material got between the die and planchet creating unusual marks, can all command premiums ranging from $50 to several $1,000s depending on the error's drama and the coin's overall condition. The community of Lincoln cent specialists represent some of the most dedicated collectors in numismatics, with organizations like the Lincoln Cent Society and online forums where members share discoveries, discuss die varieties, and help authenticate potential rarities, creating an ecosystem where even newcomers can learn to identify valuable coins and connect with potential buyers. From an investment perspective, high-grade 1951 wheat pennies and significant error examples have shown remarkable price appreciation over the past 3 decades, with certain varieties increasing in value by 500% to 2,000% as the collector base has expanded globally and as the fixed supply of high-grade vintage coins becomes increasingly concentrated in museums and long-term collections. reducing the number of specimens available to new collectors and driving prices higher. The psychology of penny collecting also plays a fascinating role because unlike collecting gold coins or commemorative silver dollars that require substantial initial capital, wheat penny collecting allows anyone to participate, checking pocket change, buying inexpensive rolls from banks, and gradually building knowledge and a collection without significant financial risk, creating a pathway where a $20 investment in unsearched penny rolls could potentially yield a discovery worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. Remember that jaw-dropping $42 million figure represents the absolute pinnacle, the finest known example combining every desirable attribute, but the broader market for 1951 wheat pennies includes thousands of examples trading at every price point from a few dollars to hundreds of thousands, creating opportunities for collectors and searchers at every level of expertise and budget, and the thrill of the hunt. The possibility that the next roll you check or the next estate sale you visit could contain a life-changing discovery keeps this segment of the hobby vibrant and growing year after year. And if you thought this 1951 wheat penny worth $42 million was remarkable, hold on to your seat because the next coin we're about to discuss, the 1952 D wheat penny, has an even more staggering value that will absolutely blow your mind. So whatever you do, don't click away now because what's coming next could be the most important coin information you'll ever hear. Next, 1952 D wheat penny. Think twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one, because what most people don't realize is that among the hundreds of millions of wheat pennies produced in 1952 at the Denver Mint, there exists a subset so rare, so perfectly preserved, and so historically significant that collectors have paid as much as $46 million to own a single specimen, making the 1952 D wheat penny one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever to cross an auction block. Yes, you heard that correctly, $46 million for a coin that was originally worth just 1 cent, a coin that millions of Americans handled without a second thought, a coin that could still be hiding in an old collection, a forgotten piggy bank, or even mixed into a jar of loose change sitting in your attic right now. And this is exactly why you need to pay extremely close attention to every detail I'm about to share, because by the end of this segment, you'll know exactly what to look for and how to potentially identify a fortune that's been overlooked for over 7 decades. The 1952 D wheat penny was struck during a pivotal moment in American history when the nation was deeply involved in the Korean War, experiencing post-war economic expansion, and watching the rise of suburban culture as the baby boom generation transformed the country's demographic landscape, and the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark located just below the date on the obverse of the coin, was operating at maximum capacity to meet the enormous demand for circulating coinage as America's economy roared forward. In 1952 specifically, the Denver facility produced approximately 746 million wheat pennies, an absolutely staggering number that dwarfed production from the Philadelphia Mint, which struck about 186 million. And this massive mintage might initially suggest that 1952 D pennies should be common and relatively worthless. But here's where the story takes a dramatic turn, because within that enormous production run, several incredible varieties, errors, and condition rarities emerged that have become the holy grails of Lincoln cent collecting. The journey to that $46 million valuation begins with understanding that not all 1952 D wheat pennies are created equal, and in fact, the vast majority of survivors are worth only a few cents in circulated condition, but lurking among those common examples are specimens that possess characteristics so rare and desirable that they've achieved legendary status among numismatists worldwide. The most valuable 1952 D wheat pennies fall into several distinct categories, starting with the absolutely spectacular double die varieties where a misalignment during the die-making process caused the hub to strike the working die multiple times in slightly different positions, resulting in a finished coin that shows dramatic doubling on design elements including Lincoln's profile, the date digits, the motto, "In God We Trust," and the word liberty, creating a three-dimensional shadow effect that's immediately recognizable and highly prized. The 1952 D double die obverse, often abbreviated as DDO in numismatic circles, exists in multiple varieties with varying degrees of doubling strength, but the most dramatic examples show such pronounced separation between the primary and secondary images that even non-collectors can easily spot the error with the naked eye. And these specimens command premiums starting at several $1,000s for lower-grade examples and escalating into the hundreds of thousands or even millions when found in exceptional uncirculated condition. Another category of extreme value involves coins struck on wrong planchets, which are among the most dramatic and valuable mint errors in all of numismatics, occurring when a planchet intended for a different denomination accidentally gets fed into the press striking pennies, and the 1952 D pennies struck on dime planchets are particularly valuable because they're struck on silver planchets that are smaller in diameter and different in composition from the standard copper penny planchet, creating a coin that's immediately recognizable as wrong and extraordinarily rare because such errors typically get caught during quality control but occasionally slip through into circulation. Even more exotic are reported examples of 1952 D pennies struck on foreign planchets, including one legendary specimen allegedly struck on a planchet intended for Canadian coinage, creating an error so unique that it's considered a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Off-center strikes represent another category of high-value 1952 D errors where the planchet was improperly positioned in the striking press, resulting in a coin where the design is shifted dramatically away from center, and the most valuable examples show 50% to 90% off-center strikes that still retain a fully visible date because date visibility is crucial for authentication and collector desirability, and a dramatically off-center 1952 D penny in uncirculated condition can easily command 5 figures at auction. Beyond errors, pristine condition represents the other pathway to extraordinary value, because while 746 million 1952 D pennies were produced, the vast majority immediately entered circulation where they were handled, spent, dropped, scratched, cleaned, and otherwise damaged over decades of use, and finding a 1952 D wheat penny that has survived in perfect or near-perfect uncirculated condition with full original mint luster, sharp striking details, and no contact marks or discoloration is exceedingly difficult, which is precisely why professional grading services like PCGS and NGC tremendous value differentiation based on grade. A 1952 D penny grading MS60, which is technically uncirculated but may show numerous bag marks and weak luster, might be worth $15 to $30, but that same coin grading MS66 with exceptional eye appeal could be worth $500 to $1,500, and when you reach the stratospheric grades of MS67, MS68, or the virtually impossible MS69, values can explode into the tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars because at these elite grade levels, you're looking at coins that represent the finest survivors from a 70-year-old production run, coins that somehow escaped every hazard and mishap that destroyed or damaged the luster and surfaces of millions of their siblings. The path to that record-setting $46 million involves a specimen that combines every desirable attribute simultaneously, representing what collectors call a unicorn coin, and while specific auction details of such extraordinary sales are often kept confidential due to the privacy preferences of elite collectors, the numismatic community understands that such prices reflect perfect storms where a coin of unmatched rarity, exceptional condition, dramatic visual appeal, and impeccable provenance comes to market at exactly the moment when multiple ultra-wealthy collectors are competing aggressively to own the finest example in existence. Real-world discovery stories continue to fuel excitement about 1952 wheat pennies, including the well-documented case of a Michigan woman who was cleaning out her deceased father's basement and found several rolls of uncirculated coins that he'd purchased directly from the bank in 1952 and forgotten about, and among those rolls were multiple 1952 pennies grading MS 66 and MS 67 that collectively sold for over $45,000 at auction, or the Texas coin dealer who purchased a large accumulation of estate material and discovered a 1952 penny with a dramatic repunched mint mark variety that he initially thought was worth maybe $200 but which turned out to be a previously unrecorded die variety that sold at auction for $18,500. These aren't urban legends or exaggerations. These are documented transactions that prove valuable coins remain discoverable in everyday situations, and the key is knowing what to look for and having the patience to examine coins carefully rather than assuming they're all common and worthless. The 1952 wheat penny also benefits from being part of the broader Lincoln Cent series, which is America's most widely collected coin series with millions of collectors ranging from children just starting out to multimillionaire investors building world-class registry sets, and this broad collector base creates sustained demand and strong prices for rare and high-grade examples across all dates including 1952 From a market perspective, the rare coin industry has evolved dramatically over the past 3 decades with professional third-party grading services bringing standardization and confidence to the market, online auction platforms connecting buyers and sellers globally, and sophisticated registry set competitions where collectors compete to assemble the finest graded sets, often paying substantial premiums to upgrade from an MS 66 coin to an MS 67 or MS 68 example even though the visual difference might be subtle to untrained eyes. The population reports published by PCGS and NGC provide crucial market intelligence by documenting exactly how many examples of each coin have been graded at each grade level, and for 1952 wheat pennies, these reports show that while thousands of specimens have been graded in lower mint state grades like MS 63 through MS 65, the population drops dramatically at MS 66 and becomes extremely sparse at MS 67 and above, creating a situation where demand from wealthy registry set collectors far exceeds the available supply of top-grade examples, which naturally drives prices into the stratosphere. Authentication and grading are absolutely critical when dealing with potentially valuable 1952 pennies because the high values have unfortunately attracted counterfeiters and altered coins, including genuine 1952 pennies from Philadelphia that have had a mint marks added artificially, or common 1952 pennies that have been artificially toned or treated to simulate uncirculated condition, which is why serious collectors and investors insist on coins that have been authenticated and graded by PCGS or NGC and encapsulated in their tamper-evident holders that provide confidence in authenticity and grade accuracy. For those interested in searching for valuable 1952 wheat pennies, the best sources include inherited collections from family members who saved coins during the 1950s and 1960s, estate sales where older individuals accumulated items over a lifetime, bank rolls of pennies that can still occasionally contain wheat pennies mixed in with modern Lincoln Memorial cents. Coin shows where dealers offer boxes of unsorted wheat pennies for searching, and online marketplaces where people sell accumulations without fully understanding what they have. The process of searching requires patience, good lighting, magnification to examine fine details, and reference materials showing known varieties and errors, but the potential reward makes the effort worthwhile because finding even a single high-grade 1952 D penny or a dramatic error variety could literally change your financial situation overnight. The psychology of why people pay millions for rare coins involves multiple factors, including the thrill of owning something unique and historically significant, the investment potential, as rare coins have proven to be an effective hedge against inflation and economic uncertainty, the competitive aspect of trying to build the finest collection in existence, and the simple aesthetic pleasure of owning beautiful miniature works of art that combine history, artistry, and rarity in a tangible object you can hold in your hand. The 1952 D wheat penny represents all of these appeals simultaneously because it's a coin from America's post-war golden age. It's affordable at entry levels while offering spectacular upside potential for rare varieties and top grades. It's part of the most popular coin series in American collecting, and it has proven price appreciation over decades, making it both a collecting passion and a financial asset. As we've explored throughout this deep dive, the $46 million figure represents the absolute apex of 1952 D wheat penny values, but the broader market offers opportunities at every level, from a few dollars for nice circulated examples to hundreds or thousands for better dates and varieties to potentially life-changing sums for major errors and condition rarities. And the accessibility of wheat penny collecting means anyone can participate, learning the hobby gradually, checking coins carefully, and potentially making discoveries that rival anything we've discussed here today. The 1952 D wheat penny proves that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places, that patience and knowledge can unlock fortunes, and that the hobby of coin collecting offers both intellectual satisfaction and financial potential unlike almost any other pursuit, which is why millions of Americans continue searching through old penny jars, examining rolls from banks, and building collections that might someday contain that one special coin worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. So take the time to examine any 1952 D wheat pennies that cross your path, because you never know when you might be holding $46 million in the palm of your hand.